up, we'll be talking about the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has also backed India and said that he had extremely good conversation with the Prime Minister Modi, where Johnson said that the UK stands shoulder to shoulder with India when it comes to fight against terrorism. Listen in.
I did indeed have an extremely good conversation with Prime Minister Modi, and we agreed to strengthen our cooperation not just on the security side, where clearly the UK and India stand shoulder to shoulder in the fight against terror, but also in military cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region, where we share many interests, and of course in free trade.
Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor, is with us. So when it comes to fight against terrorism, Abhishek, we've seen the UK also being a victim of terror, and somewhere when it comes to Pakistan being globally snubbed, this is another country which is coming out in staunch support of India's stand when it comes to fight against terrorism.
Well, it's important that Prime Minister Johnson has spoken about it, Amita, because we have seen London becoming a theatre of protests, motivated protests by the Pakistanis around the Indian embassy. In fact, yesterday there was an element of sabotage also, and breaking in also, and even the London mayor has ordered a police inquiry by the Metropolitan Police. So it's clear that UK also came out, but we have seen how nation after nation, the P5 of the Security Council, but for the exception of China, and the rest of the world have come together to clearly see India's position on Kashmir as an internal matter within the sovereign jurisdiction of India. We have seen how Pakistan was embarrassed in the South Asian Speakers Conference in Maldives a couple of days back, and yesterday in Sri Lanka on the sidelines of another UN meet. So what we are seeing is that everybody sees Kashmir or the decisions taken on Kashmir with Article 370 as an internal matter of India, and that if at all it has to be solved between Pakistan and India, and there is no role for mediation.
Yes.
President Trump said so much in the presence of Prime Minister Modi from Biarritz in France, and France, of course, has been a very close supporter on this issue. So it's clear that Pakistan's isolation continues with this statement of Boris Johnson.
Absolutely, and it had happened in the Maldivian parliament, it had happened in the UNICEF conference there in Colombo as well. And when it comes to important and strong countries there, where Pakistan was actually looking for some kind of support or sympathy, that is not coming, at least from the UK. Thanks very much for the moment, Abhishek. We'll listen in to what Prime Minister Johnson said.
I did indeed have an extremely good conversation with Prime Minister Modi, and we agreed to strengthen our cooperation not just on the security side, where clearly the UK and India stand shoulder to shoulder in the fight against terror, but also in military cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region, where we share many interests, and of course in free trade.